All right. Well, how are you all today? And welcome to Integrative Preparedness. I'm not taking you down into the dungeon, but we're going down somewhere. If you all have ever been to the top of the rock down at Big Cedar on Table Rock Lake, we come here all the time. One of our favorite places. A great restaurant, a couple of great restaurants up here. And we're going to go down to the bar for a second. And I just figured that you might like to see this. And I want to talk about your next 20 years. Isn't there a song like that, Tim McGraw or something? No, it wasn't him. It was somebody. I don't know. Maybe it was him. I don't remember. But being up here reminded me of a couple of sayings that I had recently seen. You know, when you come to we come down to Silver Dollar City and Big Cedar all the time, and you see all these plaques, all these sayings. Now, this, by the way, this is if you're not familiar with Top of the Rock, it's a development by Johnny Morris, same guy that developed Big Cedar, same guy that started and developed Bass Pro. And more, he does stuff just everywhere in the world. And this is just exceptional. We're going to be going out to the chapel in a minute, but I'm going to sit here at the bar and talk to you for a couple of things. Because I think that, you know, when we talk about preparedness, it's easy to think, and you've heard me say this before, it's easy to think about going backwards. I'm going to hand this off to my cameraman, Aiden. And I'm going to sit down. And our very nice bartender can tell you. All right. A couple of sayings occurred to me from the last time that we were down here at Silver Dollar City. And one was, you have a wonderful past ahead of you. You know, and that seems funny. But what it means is, and of course here and over at Silver Dollar City, they're talking about, well, going back in time, going back to the old ways and things that many of us enjoy. But it meant something different to me, and it made me think about, you know, what is your past going to be 20 years from now? How are you going to look back on what you have done in the next 20 years? And that's important. You know, it's easy to think about what we want to do tomorrow and what we want to do the next day, and we're forward thinking because we're planning, because we're preparing, because we want to be prepared for whatever comes along our way. But when we're forward thinking, I'm going to move out of these people's way here for a second so he doesn't trip. Excuse me. That's all right. I'll sit back down. We're forward thinking by thinking about how we would go back. And I don't think that we think so much about thinking from a certain point in our future. And I think that that's important. You know, in one of my books, I think it was the second book in one of Jim Wyatt's speeches, I had him say, we must build the future we want our children to live in, right? Well, the building of that, you know, starts every day and it restarts every day. And one of the most important things I think you can do is, instead of just thinking forward, think backwards from a point, you know, from a goal. We talk about this, the goal. What's your goal? Where do you want to be in 20 years? And then think backwards from that. What is, 20 years from now, what is the previous 20 years going to look like? See, it's kind of a way of setting a backward process. But many times I think that that's true. You know, Joe Louis, for those of you who may be familiar with him, the karate guy, not the boxer, he said something interesting. He and I were talking one time, and he says, you know, I look at a punch not as coming from where I throw it to the target, but from coming back from the target. He says, and that's how he developed his speed, by thinking that way. That instead of going from here and seeing how fast you can reach, the whatever target on the other fighter you're after. He thinks it's already there, and how do I bring it back? It's kind of a projection thing. I know it's metaphysical, but my suggestion is this. It's easy to think, or sometimes it's difficult to think. It can be difficult to think without a goal, and I talked about this the other day. What should I do tomorrow? What should I do next week? What should I do next week? And building one thing on another. Instead, project yourself 20 years from now. Where do you want to be 20 years from now? And what do you want that previous 20 years, your past, of your future, if you see what I mean? What do you want that to look like? What should it look like? What were the steps that you took along the way to reach where you are 20 years from now? Okay? All right. Keep that in mind. It's the way that I often look at things, and it's served me well. So take a shot. Think about it that way. You have a wonderful past ahead of you if you do it right. Okay? You all have a good day. Remember that we prepare well today in order to live well tomorrow, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.